I am coming to you live because not live, but I am held down in the Sacramento airport with a bunch of flight delays, but that doesn't mean that we can't talk some Arizona hoops and where Arizona needs to go from here because there's a lot of stuff we need to talk about. So let's get started here on Locked On Wildcats.
You are Locked On Wildcats, your daily podcast on the Arizona Wildcats, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Monday, Wildcat fans, and thanks for keeping it Locked On Wildcats. I am your host, Mike Luke. All right, we got a lot to get to here today. Obviously, Arizona basketball performed incredibly poorly against Princeton. There's a lot of takeaways from that we're certainly going to get to. But first and foremost, I just want to reiterate what we talked about a little bit Friday, and that there is absolutely no excuse for how Arizona basketball played in that game. There is just not. A big part of what happened there is that Arizona not only got outplayed by a team in Princeton. Granted, now Princeton's in the Sweet 16. I get it. But not only did they get outplayed, they got outplayed by a team that just wanted it more. And that can never happen. You are at the University of Arizona. You need to take pride in what you're doing right there. And it didn't look like they took any pride in what they were doing right there. And it just starts, from, top to bottom. And at the beginning, it looked like Arizona didn't want anything to do with that last second play right there. And that's something that, you have to have. Now, again, a lot of people say, well, I want the last shot, all of this. But what you generally come to find out very quickly in spots like that is who really does want the last shot and who really doesn't want the last shot. And Arizona really didn't want the last shot right there. And that is the issue. That is the problem right there for Arizona. Now, some of the other things that I think certainly came to light right there are that Arizona is, while a very, very good team, and we talked about this throughout the year, they're also a pretty limited team in that, yes, Azuolas Tubelis is your quote-unquote star, but listen, when you're looking at Azuolas Tubelis, do you really look at a guy and say, man, that's a guy that wants to take over a game? That's a guy that is really looking to embrace the big moment? No. And again, that's not necessarily his fault. It just kind of is what it is. But he, you don't ever watch him and say that, man, that's a guy that wants to embrace that moment. And he did it because honestly, again, he had opportunities to take that shot at the end. He had an open 16-footer and he decided to kind of feebly dribble it in once and then take a shot that was blocked. Just not that dude. Again, very good player. I'd love to have him back. And anybody that says they don't want Azuolas Tubelis back is silly. Now, because again, a lot of times we're in the heat of the moment, get all of that, but you want to have Azuolas Tubelis back. And not only do you want to have Azuolas Tubelis back, you just need to be able to upgrade at some of those other positions. But he's a great secondary option, but we definitely saw that he's not a lead dog. That's for sure. Now, again, there's nothing wrong with that. A lot of guys just aren't built like that, but he's definitely not built like that. Now, Oumar Ballo, I give him a ton of credit because he probably shouldn't have been playing, to be honest with you. When you watched how he was moving with his hand, he couldn't even really grasp the ball, and that's obviously an issue right there. Because if you can't grasp the ball, what can you really? You become pretty limited in what you're able to do. And again, that's he played through it. But I also question a little bit Tommy Lloyd right there because, let's be honest. You've got to be able to know who can play, who can't, who's in a good mood or mode, who isn't, and who's ready to actually step up and play when healthy. And Oumar Ballo just wasn't. Now, you could say, well, Mike, the peaks weren't ready. Okay, that's fine. Well, if the peaks weren't ready, then I think you got to go small at that point. But the problem, though, when you go small is that nobody else really wanted anything to do with that situation right there. Watching Pelle Larsson, he looked scared at the moment. Again, I'm going to give Courtney Ramey some credit right here. At least Courtney Ramey wanted the ball. And to me, that is a huge aspect to all of this, is that at least Courtney Ramey wanted the ball. And that's just kind of what it is at this point. Now you watch Arizona and you think to yourself, okay, what can they do this offseason? Well, a couple things. First, you got to get more athletic on the perimeter. There's no doubt about that. Pelle Larsson can jump high, but I wouldn't necessarily call him athletic, and that he can't really make plays off the bounce. And he's not a guy that is ever going to be able to come off a curl and make a shot, come off a curl and, make a big bucket. That's just not how he's wired. And not only is he not wired like that, he's a dude who, I think is great in that fourth or fifth role. But what we also saw too is that he's limited. And not only is he limited, it's just kind of the way he is. Now, what do you do this offseason? That is the question that I think a lot of people are asking. And again, you got to get bigger. You got to get more athletic. Watch Texas this past, for example. You watch what they were able to do. And these were all the reason I keep bringing up Texas. I'm going to keep bringing up Texas is because of the who they were able to get in the transfer portal. There are players out there in the transfer portal that can be exactly what Arizona needs. And that's what, again, we're going to keep harping on this, and we're going to keep harping on it because, again, Marcus Kerr, a guy that Texas got in the portal, kid out of Minnesota, I believe, initially, dynamic dude, can get in the lane, can get in the paint, and can make a lot of different plays happen right there. Marcus Kerr is a very good player. Serge Rice, great guy, or great name. Also another guy from a smaller school, but he can get out there and make plays off the bounce as well. So again, there are players to be had out there. There are people to be had, but it's going to take a little bit of, let's just say, roster ingenuity. How about that for a term right there? Roster ingenuity. But again, Lloyd, I think, is a smart guy. I get a lot of people that ask, is Tommy Lloyd, is he really ready to do this? Is he going to be able to make all these moves? I believe he is because, again, a lot of coaches, the great coaches, also understand, too, when sometimes their way isn't working, and I believe he's a great coach. You look at Mike Krzyzewski, years of just playing man-to-man defense, and he decided, I think it was 2015 when they won the national title, all right, this just isn't good enough right here. I've got to be able to perform. I got to be able to get my guys out there in other manners, and did just that. It worked. So again, I think Tommy Lloyd. Is good. I think Tommy Lloyd understands why. I think Tommy Lloyd understands what needs to be done, and so that's where we're at with that. But you got to get guys like Marcus Kerr, Serge Rice, heck, even Tommy Allen out of Utah, a guy that we've all watched closely, and he's a really good role player, pretty athletic. But again, not that you're going to be able to poach those guys from Texas because most of them are out of eligibility. But those are that's the template right there. That's the guy. And honestly, if Lloyd can't get those guys, then that's probably a Lloyd problem because you watch how Arizona plays. You watch the style in which they play. You watch and you see the guys are going into the NBA left and right. That's a style that players should want to play in. And if they don't want to play it, then again, I think that's a little bit of an indictment on Tommy Lloyd. But again, I think that I don't want to borrow trouble here because I think Tommy Lloyd is going to be able to figure this one out. And not only do I think he's going to be able to figure this one out, I think that he's going to be able to get the pieces that he needs. Now, it does start with some other areas, though, that's also important. You've got to be able to figure out, in my opinion, you got to get rid of Kerr Kriisa. And this is with all due respect to Kerr Kriisa because he's done many, many good things here. Very winning point guard, but he, again, like we talked about the other day, he is just limited. There's no other way around it. He is just limited. He's not a good athlete, and not only is he not a good athlete, in that he struggles to break. He can't really break anybody down, which is another problem. And if you can't break people down, and you're not a good athlete, and you're not a good defender on top of that, don't really know what to tell you on that front other than the fact that you're going to be limited. And especially at the point guard position when you've got a Kylan Boswell right there who is ready. Let's be honest. Kylan Boswell is ready to step in and be that dude. I mean, I think anybody that's watched him knows that, yeah, it's time. It's time for Kylan Boswell to be that guy. And not only is he able to be that guy, he's able, I think, to be able to, get out there and be that bulldog that Arizona needs, for lack of a better term. He's that dude. He's got to be that dude right there. And I think he's ready. Like I said, I think he's ready to embrace that role. I think he's ready to take on that, path because, again, I think that he's there. But Kerr Kriisa, like I said, we've talked about before, Kerr Kriisa is limited. And you can't really put him at the 2, in my opinion, because he can't shoot well enough. And, again, he's athletically limited. People are going to go at him. People can go at him, and we've seen that before. And if he's on the roster, I think that maybe dissuades a DeDon Thomas from hopping in, and maybe not only dissuades a DeDon Thomas from hopping in, but other players like that, because if Kerr comes back, Kerr's going to start. That's just the way it is. Tommy Lloyd obviously really likes Kerr, but also at some points in the game, you got to make some tough decisions. And I think that's a tough decision right there that Tommy Lloyd has to make. And I think that it's a decision that he's got to make sooner than later. Put it to you like that. Now, you might say to yourself, well, is the devil you know better than the devil you don't? In this situation, yes, because I believe that you can get a player like Kerr Kriisa pretty much anywhere. Again, not saying that he stinks. He definitely doesn't stink, but I do believe that you can get guys like that. Now, one thing that you can't get anywhere is Built Bar. Now, you might say to yourself, Built Bar, Mike, you talked about this before. What is Built Bar? All right. Built Bar is for the big, strong, powerful people out there who, you know what, they like getting big and physical out there. There's no surprise that Built Bar is based out of Utah. And you watch the Utah Utes, and you're like, wow, that's a pretty big physical team right there. But that's what Built Bar does. So you shouldn't be surprised by that. You should know that Built Bar is there for you. So again, and you can get it in blueberry, you can get it in strawberry, and you name it, they've got it. And again, GNC, that's where it's at. Check it out. Built Bar, very, very, very good. And at the end of the day, when you're done with that gym workout, you're ready to hit everything back up because Built Bar has you ready to rock and roll right there. Okay, now we're going to take a quick little break. We'll be right back with you. You are listening to Locked On Wildcats. Thanks for keeping it Locked On Wildcats. I am your host, Mike Luke. All right, now talk about some of the guys. Some of the guys who are basically out there that Arizona needs to get. Jamari Phillips first. He's going to be in the 2024 class. Jamari Phillips is a guy who, I would say he's going to be ready to rock and roll. He's not going to be a superstar per se because he's not a great athlete, but he's also a great role. I think he's going to be a great role player originally, and he still is a better athlete than what Arizona's throwing out there. That was a big get for Arizona. Then you got Carter Bryant. Carter Bryant would be the first mega recruit that Arizona has had, and under Tommy Lloyd, a top 5 kid, and not only is Carter Bryant that guy, but Tommy Lloyd has prioritized him. You got to be able to get dudes like this. You got to be able to get the Carter Bryants of the world. And because, again, you don't need to have all these guys, but you need to have a few of them. And at Arizona, you should be able to get them. And, again, Carter Bryant, my comparison for him is Jason Tatum. He's got that kind of game. He's got that kind of build. He's about 6'8", 205. Not a great athlete, but a pretty good athlete. And a player who, can do a lot of good things out there. Now, there's some other things that are in play right there with Carter Bryant. I expect him to become an Arizona Wildcat. The other school right now that you're looking at is Louisville. Louisville right now, you shouldn't lose Carter Bryant to Louisville. I would expect Arizona to be able to get Carter Bryant here, committing here in the near future, and I think that alleviates some concerns. But you still have concerns for the following year, which we're going to get to a little bit tomorrow. But in the 2024 class, then it comes down to maybe Don Thomas, Zoom Diallo. Not sure that you're going to be able to get. I'm not sure that you're going to be able to get a next. Him. It looks like he might be staying home, but again, Arizona's all in trying to get one of those 2 point guards right there, and I think now. It's up to Tommy Lloyd to be able to recruit at the level that I think Arizona fans should be accustomed to. You got to step up the recruiting level. It's awesome getting some of these fillers in there, but you need some stars, you need some dogs, and not only do you need some dogs, you need some guys that really want the embrace the moment right there. What we found with this team at the end of the season is you had a lot of dudes that didn't embrace the moment, and that becomes a problem. So again, that's where Arizona is on the recruiting front. Now, 2023, you got KJ Lewis. I like KJ Lewis a great deal. Now, you might say that you only got one player in the class so far, but remember also that Kylan Boswell is a de facto member of that class. So, I don't just subconsciously poo-poo that, but I like KJ Lewis a great deal. I know that he's listed as a top 50 to 60 player in the country. I think he ultimately ends up better than that. And again, my guy Stat Freak, I thought, made a great point when he compared him to Jalen Clark. I think Jalen Clark is a great comparison for him and what he should hope that his career trajectory is going to be. He's a top 4 or 5 player out of, he's a 2 or 3 year guy. And at about 6'4", 6'5", an explosive athlete, should be able to come in and defend immediately. And if you come in and you can defend immediately, you're going to like kind of where you're at. Now, there are some other issues at play right here when it comes to the rest of the 24 class. I don't necessarily see anybody domestically, maybe some people from overseas, but I also don't think that you're probably going to get some big-time guy domestically. Again, take that for what it's worth. But I do believe that if you bring back Tabellis, if you bring back Umar Ballo, you have to be able to bring in guys who are physically capable of playing now and being explosive level players, not just role players. And I think that's the issue that a lot of people have. All right, now let me tell you one thing though that nobody has an issue with, and that's FanDuel. All right, FanDuel.com/lockedon. Great stuff going on at the FanDuel Sportsbook. You can bet in-game, you can bet out-of-game, you can bet props. You name it, FanDuel's got it. Check it out, FanDuel.com. Very happy that they've joined us here on the Locked On Network. Now, with like I said, with FanDuel, it's great because it's a big entity. You know that when your money's going in, it's solid, and there's a reason that it's taken off in the manner in which it has, because people like it. People like making free money. People like making money as well when it comes to betting, and that's kind of where everything is. FanDuel.com/LockedOnCollege. Check it out. Again, we'll be right back with you. We're gonna wrap this one up. Get you ready for tomorrow. Thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats. I'm your host, Mike Luke. Now, here's what we got. With Arizona, Arizona is in the spot right now where you've got to be able to get better players on the perimeter. We're going to keep talking about that because I do kind of think that Tabellis and Ballo come back. That's just a guess, though. But we're going to talk some Arizona football tomorrow. Spring football is here. And not only am I excited about spring football, you're excited about spring football because this Arizona team is going to take that next step right there. So again, that's what we're going to be talking about a lot tomorrow and in the coming days. Tomorrow we're going to start previewing the offense. Then we're going to start previewing the defense a little bit. Get everybody ready for what you need to know because there's a lot of good stuff to know about Arizona football. This isn't the Kevin Sumlin days. We have moved on to bigger and better things. Okay. Now, you guys have a great rest of your Monday. I have no clue when I'm going to be getting out of Sacramento because the flights are all delayed from American Airlines. It's been a disastrous trip. But either way, we're always back in the A right here. You have a great rest of your Monday. I'll be back with you tomorrow. You've been listening to